Another great application for using the searching line is when you're attempting to draw an object that is very complicated, something that you would not be able to look at and figure out right away, no matter how skilled you are. An object like this egg carton is pretty complicated, and when I put this in front of a beginning drawing student, the reaction is almost always, oh, no way can I draw that. But using the searching line, it becomes very simple to get a grip on how to draw an object even as complicated as the egg carton here. The first thing that you have to think about when you're trying to draw any kind of complicated object is what kind of geometric form or volume is that object based on. In this case, I think we could agree that the egg crate is based on a rectangular cube-like object, something like this. I'll draw a little one here. And again, you see I'm using my searching line technique even here to depict this sort of basic structure of the egg crate. It's based on a geometric shape. This allows me a starting off point, as it were, a jumping off point for how I might tackle the complexity of depicting that very, very complicated egg crate. Right? And again, you can see how useful this idea of searching line is for me as I begin to figure these things out. And it's really important that you be sort of light with this at first until you're sure that everything is going the way you want it to. So I'm making these marks very light because I know that some of these are wrong and that I need to rethink them. I know they're wrong even though I've drawn this particular egg crate about 1,000,000 times. It's all seeing it anew each time you draw it. Okay, so I've got those positioned as they are in the still life somewhat. The next thing I notice is that they all sort of slope down in a very cup-like form, and so I'm gonna attempt to use my searching line to pick out exactly what's happening with this first one, with the idea that after I get that one, the others will fall into place and create sort of a visual pattern. This one is in front of this one. It overlaps that one slightly. And so I begin with the searching line to explore the idea that this one here is in front of this one. It's overlapping it here. This one goes behind. So I've got this one here. And again, I'm using my searching line to pick out the shape. And then I look at the next one and I explore how it is behind the first two, etc., using that searching line to pick out the different pieces, building it as it were, working with the bigger parts of the form first as the basic structure of the piece, and then with the idea that after I've worked out all these major big relationships, I would then go in and add whatever detail I desired on the piece. Again, if I wanted to shade it, I could, but the first thing one has to do is to establish all of the formal and spatial relationships. The forms themselves have to be oriented to each other in the correct way before you can even ever begin to think about incorporating any detail. I liken it to building a house. You can't decorate the house with the details until you've built the walls and had the floor in and the roof and everything else. You've got to build the foundation and then you can add the details. Now there's a detail around here. The bottom of the egg crate sort of comes out here, right? Now you can see now I'm pretty far, away from my box form now. I've got the flange that comes out here. That's the little part that you would close the egg crate with. And again, you can see how effectively I can use the searching line. There are missteps with the searching line, but it doesn't matter. You're figuring everything out. And again, the little flange that comes out here. I'm observing that. And again, any details that I also wanted to add then too, such as the little raised portions of the, oops, I forgot one, of the egg crate here. See, I've allowed myself to rethink this little area. There's these little closure places here, and on and on and on. So you can see where the box allowed me to start. Without the box, I would have been very, very hard-pressed to figure out how these were related to each other, how each of these 12 little cups were related to each other. But once I established this fundamental shape of the box, it became very easy to sort of measure out and fill in the different areas, and then by observation I was able to establish the relationships between the different places on the egg crate, with the idea too then that if you wanted to, you could come back in here very, very carefully and sort of reiterate the more important of the searching lines. And again, but this is just a way, the searching line is your best technique for sort of researching and figuring out what's happening in a complicated scenario, like this complicated egg carton or a complex still life where there's lots of different forms that you're trying to depict. It's important to get all of the fundamental things down in the still life before you ever think about establishing any detail type things. You can see how it would have been impossible for me to start with this flange here and get where I am now, but how easy it was to start